So for today's class, if you could have a couple bricks, including a thicker brick if you have one, this one's cork, and a narrow brick, or just any two bricks, could do. A strap, a bolster, a chair, your mat perpendicular to a wall, and then I'm going to come into an inversion at the end of class, and whether or not you take the full inversion, I'm hoping that you can have a good stack of blankets. I have 4 here. If you have 3, that should be sufficient. We won't hold this inversion for too long. It's more of a taste, a touch and go to see how it goes. Also offering alternatives for those who require alternatives. So let's start lying down, just gathering ourselves. So take your blanket folded for your head. And take your bolster, if you have one, under the thighs. And then we'll come down vertebra by vertebra, support the head with the blanket, and extend the legs long. See that bolster is supporting under the thighs, just so that you can really release the abdomen, the pelvis, and let go of the arms. See that you've taken a moment to wrap the right bicep up to the ceiling, the left bicep up to the ceiling, so that the chest is open and you're receptive here. And then we'll just spend a minute or two strengthening our connection, our awareness that we use so strongly in our physical practice of asana or postures. So just observing how you are in this reclining shavasana position, noticing where you're able to let go fully towards the floor. And no need in this space to comment or change or adjust or tell a story about anything that you find. Just simply taking stock. So notice too where there are any areas that are resisting letting go. Then you can notice what those sensations are. It could be a sense of gripping, maybe some heat or like inflammation in certain areas. And just breathe into them as much as you breathe into the areas that are readily releasing. And while you're here, I'm just going to drop in this short passage from BKS Iyengar's Light on the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. And this is a section where he talks about asana. And I like to sometimes share an aspect of yoga philosophy or something to anchor us in the broader path of yoga so that we can be inspired and apply that to our physical postural practice with a sense of something deeper, greater. Where are we heading with this? So he says that the conjunction of effort, concentration, and balance in asana forces us to live intensely in the present moment. A rare experience in modern life. The conjunction of effort, concentration, and balance in asana forces us to live intensely in the present moment. A rare experience in modern life. So just breathe that in, that concept of asana or postures being meditation in action. So as much as we're strengthening and we're bringing flexibility into our body, we're helping ourselves physically with this physical layer, we're also very decidedly anchoring the mind and the body and coming into a sort of meditation. Good. And then you can flutter your eyes open and roll to the side. And we're going to start with some chest opening traction work that will also come into the hips. Take your cork brick, and I'm going to suggest, if there's no current injuries in the shoulders, you might be able to work with the brick on this height, this high. If that feels too strong, then lower your brick down to this orientation. But I'm going to show on that height, and then your other brick will be for your head. You might find that this angle is too strong on the neck, so you're welcome to bring in blankets to lift the head if that angle feels too steep in the neck. We'll cross the shins in swastikasana, and then this brick is going to be coming right across the center of the shoulder blades so that it's moving them in. So let's just place ourselves. Actually, I should say you want to have your strap and see that the strap measures from your outer shoulder to your outer shoulder. So that's going to work to contain the arms. And then you find your placement. So placing the brick right across the shoulder blades. Then giving a gentle tug on the base of the skull so you can lengthen the neck as you release it down to the brick. And if that feels too strong in the neck, give yourself some more height. Release your arms by your side and just spend a breath or two. First, activating the legs by pressing the outer knees towards the floor, and that should give you a little bit of feedback, at least in the outer hips, so that the outer hips begin to compact in towards the pubic bone. Then the strap comes around the wrists, and we'll start with the arms just overhead, so the wrists are over the shoulders. Get a good view of your fingers. Bring life into the fingers. Palms are facing in. Extend out through all 10 fingers. Inhale, exhale. Reach the arms overhead towards the floor. And just breathe with the sensations that you gain here, feeling the skin open up around the armpits, along the sides of the trunk. Breathe. Keep firming the elbows, the wrists, all 10 fingers firming, extending. Soften the throat, the eyes, the jaw. Breathe. Good. And then we'll draw the arms back, bend the elbows, change the cross of the shins. I'm flexing my feet here, so I'm on the big toe edge of the feet, and I'm pushing out through the center of the heel bones, drawing the outer knees towards the floor. Then extend the arms, wrists over shoulders, reach out through the fingers. Inhale, exhale, reach the arms overhead toward the floor. Maybe the thumbs connect to the floor. If that's the case for you, can you creep the thumbs a little further behind you? Let them be an anchor point to see your capacity to extend as you breathe with the skin, letting it release, lengthen, soften, breath to breath. Firm the elbows, the wrists, all 10 fingers firming. Good, and then bend the elbows, and we'll gently roll to the side. Move the brick from under the shoulders, and then just line your back with the feet flat on the floor for a couple breaths, just to let the spine come back to neutral. And then we'll roll to the side. We're going to come into seated swastikasana. For this, I'll ask you to have your bolster, a strap, and some might use a chair. I'll show the alternative with the chair. You can have that in front of you. Sit on your bolster. Also have your strap nearby. And see that your strap is a little narrower than shoulder distance. We're going to be using it to contain the elbows, and you'll want it a little narrower than shoulder distance. Dandasana. Sit. Draw the toes towards you, lift the skin of the kneecaps, firm the thighs down, draw the elbows back, lift the breastbone up. Swastikasana, reach inside the left knee, draw the left knee out to the side, draw the right knee out to the side. So now we're going to want to roll a little more to the front of the sit bones. So I shift my weight back and roll to the front of the sit bones. If the knees are high and the groins are really tight, you might want to give yourself more height. So you've got lots of blankets today. You can stack 1, 2 blankets underneath you, and that will help you lift the chest and release the groins. Now we're going to be coming forward. If the groins are well released, you can work with your hands on the floor, and the strap will come around the elbows. We're going to walk the fingers forward increment by increment, and just where you had that brick at your upper back, you're going to move the upper back in, lift the breastbone up, and then keep going forward, okay? With the chair, same thing. Have the hands on the chair, lift up the breastbone right where the brick was, move it in, and then walk your hands a little forward. Again, keep working. Move the upper back in, breastbone up. Either on the floor or at the chair, you're coming forward in increments, upper back in, breastbone up. And then once you come to a place where you feel, my upper back's going to start to round, I'm going to pause here, turn the gaze towards the floor, and breathe into the back, into the groins, into the outer hips. Using that breath as awareness to move into any areas, giving some feedback. And staying in the present moment by staying with the sensations given, breathing into them. And then to come out, we'll walk the hands back. To repose, we come into Dandasana. So extend the legs out, squeeze the knees, firm the thighs, lift up the chest, and feel how that brings stability in where you were working for, deep flexion and deep release. Now the stability gives a release in between. Then we'll change the cross of the legs. So change the cross. And once again, tip forward onto the front of the sit bones. So I'm lifting my pelvis up, tipping to the front of the sit bones, and then choosing the chair or coming to the floor. Strap is around the elbows, tent the fingers at the floor or the chair. Move the upper back in, breastbone up, walk the fingers forward. Upper back in, breastbone up. Soften the groins, soften the outer hips. Upper back in, breastbone up. Walking forward, upper back in, breastbone up. And then finally, when you've come to that full place of forward extension, just before where you feel you might be rounding the upper back, turn the gaze gently to the floor. And feel how this brings your awareness into your back, and let that happen. Breathe into the back, into the groins, into the outer hips. Breathe. Good. And then we'll walk the hands back from the floor or the chair. Repose by extending the legs out into Dandasana, staff pose. Draw the toes towards you. Lift the skin of the knees. Firm the thighs. Tent the fingers. Lift the breastbone. Feel the stability in the ankles, the knees, the outer hips, the shoulder blades. Good. Okay, from here we're going to come into Urdhva Prasarita Padasana, or upward extended foot pose. And you will need your blanket and your strap. So the strap is going to come right around the ankles and bind them nicely tight. So you want to get a nice tight bind. If you find your strap slips a bit when you press into this strap, what I advise you to do is just wrap the strap around several times so that it really binds the ankles together. And then we'll lie down, support the head on the blanket. Extend your arms shoulder distance and take a moment to wrap the biceps up, lift the breastbone up, and then release the shoulders, the arms to the floor. Take a moment to lift the buttocks, shoot the sit bones to the heels, and feel that hollowness in the abdomen, your navel drawing in towards your spine. You want to keep that throughout this pose. Then release the pelvis towards the floor, but keep that hollowness in the abdomen. Squeeze the inner legs together, the lower leg and the upper leg, as if they were one leg. And stack the knees over the hips with control. No further. See, my shins are heavy here. They're not active. They're just, I let my shin go towards my thighs. Hollow the abdomen, touch down, lightly touch the heels to the floor, and then come back up. Abdomen hollow, knees over hips. Nice and light. Hollow the abdomen, arms pressing to the floor. Really using the core of the body to support this action. And keep those legs sealed together. 5 more. Hollow the abdomen, arms pressing down. 4, 5. And then repose. Place the feet on the floor. Let the whole back body broaden and widen, and let go so that you imprint that capacity to keep that as you move into the next iteration of the pose. Re-lengthen the sit bones, hollow the abdomen. Squeeze the legs together. Lightly stack the knees over the hips, and then extend the legs up to 90 degrees between the lower and upper legs. Press those outer ankles into the strap, firm the thighs, push out through the heel bones, spread the toes. Then lower 10 degrees, hollow the abdomen, push out through the heel bones, lower 10 degrees more, hollow the abdomen, back to 90. 10 degrees, push out through the heels, 10 degrees, 10 degrees, back to 90. If at any point you're feeling this in your low back or the abdomen is not hollowing, it's puffing out, come down and rest or come back to an earlier iteration. Lower 10 degrees, 10 degrees, 10 degrees. Push out through the heels. Hollow the abdomen back to 90. 10, 10, 10. Hollow the abdomen. Push out through the heels. Back to 90. Bend the knees. Lower down. Repose. Let the back body spread. Breathe into the back body. Spread the pelvis broad and wide. Good. Re-lengthen the sit bones. Feel that action, hollowing the abdomen. Push the arms down. Knees over hips. Extend the legs up. Pressurize the outer ankles into the strap. Push out through the heels. We're going to lower 10, 10, 10. Now you can come back to 90 if that's strong enough, or hover off the floor. Push out through the heels. Hollow the abdomen. Back to 90. 10, 10, 10. Hover a couple inches off the floor. Push out through the heels. Push the outer ankles into the strap. Hollow the abdomen. Back to 90. 10, 10, 10. Hover. 90. Now you can rest. You can come back to the beginning, or you're going to go from 90. Hover. 90. Hover. Hollow the abdomen. Push the arms down. 90. Hover. 90. Hover. 3 more. 90. Hover. 90. Hollow the abdomen. Arms pushing down. Hover. 90. Hover. 90. Bend the knees with control. Abdomen hollow. Slowly lower the heels to the floor. Then let go, let loose. Breathe the back body broad and wide. Good. Let's take the strap off. Little Houdini class today. We're going to come into a variation of Jatara Parvattanasana, which will release the low back. This is also a modification to come into the hips a little more strongly too. So have your bolster on your right side. You may or may not need it. Have the strap just on your abdomen. You may or may not need it. Arms are by your side, shoulder distance. Bring the feet together. Reset the pelvis. So hollow the abdomen, shoot the sit bones to the heels, and then lower the pelvis down. Squeeze the legs together. Stack the knees over the hips. Shins are heavy. Then the knees are going to go directly to the right, and you're going to strengthen the abdomen to the left. Knees will go as far as they can go before you lift the left arm up. So some might find you don't need the bolster, and you can go all the way to the floor. So if that's you, great, but the bolster is there if you need some support to keep stable in this pose. So keep the left arm grounded, the abdomen twisting to the left, and just breathe here into this first stage of the pose. And then we're going to extend out through that top leg. Extend out through that top leg. First stage, push out through the left heel bone. Now you might be able to clasp the big toe edge of that left foot with your right hand. If that's not available, you might choose to use a strap. You might just leave the leg free as is. But it's going to help you, if you're holding on, to inject the left thigh bone. Draw it back into the hip socket, and then release the outer left thigh towards your wall. Okay, so bringing real stability into that thigh bone in the hip socket and releasing the groins to the wall. Breathe. Good, and then we'll bend the left knee, Release both arms to the floor. Strengthen the abdomen so you can draw your knees back to center. Place the feet on the floor. Reset the pelvis. And you may bring your bolster back over now to the left, or not if you know you're not going to need it. Extend the arms out shoulder height. Seal the legs together. Knees directly over the hips, shins heavy. Knees go over to the left. You strengthen your abdomen to the right. Maybe the knees come to the floor. If you keep that right shoulder, right arm grounding, strengthening your abdomen to the right. Breathe and let yourself settle there so you can feel the skin of the right side trunk lengthening and opening. And then reach out through that right heel bone, straighten that top leg. Maybe you clasp the big toe side of the foot with the left hand, or you clasp around the foot with the strap, holding it in your left hand. And then we'll draw that right thigh bone into the hip socket and release the outer right hip towards the wall. Keep breathing into those actions. Thigh bone into hip socket, outer right hip towards the wall, softening. Turning your abdomen from left to right. Good, and then we'll release the strap or the clasp, release the right knee back to the left knee, squeeze the legs together, ground the arms, draw the knees back to center, release the feet on the floor. Just take a moment to inhale and exhale. Breathe the pelvis to the floor, breathe the arms, shoulders to the floor. Good, and then we're going to roll to the side and come into Chakravakasana or cat-cow pose, just continuing to connect to the work of the abdomen supporting the spine. So you'll take your brick. If you have a narrow brick, that's best. A thicker brick is fine as well. The brick's going to come right up into the upper inner groins. I'm just placing a blanket here in case my knees are sensitive to the floor for kneeling. So brick is right up into the upper inner thighs, knees are under the hips, and my hands are under my shoulders, fingers are spread. Starting with just a neutral spine. So I'm just going to show here. We're going to use the breath. So we're going to inhale in a neutral spine to begin with. And on the exhalation, squeeze the brick, draw your navel towards your spine, and we'll come into a high cat arch. Now, when we reverse this curve on the inhalation, you're going to tip like you have a tail that's reaching up to the sky, and your breastbone goes up to the sky. But I want you to keep squeezing the brick and keeping your navel moving towards your spine so that you can see here, you don't do this. You don't just let the abdomen go and compress the lumbar. So we're really keeping some awareness in engaging the abdomen throughout this. So let's go together. Neutral spine, inhale, neutral. Exhale, squeeze the brick, high cat arch, draw the navel towards your spine as if you're curling your tail under, and then reverse the curve. Inhale, tip your tail up, breastbone up, but keep that little engagement, navel to spine, abdomen strong. Exhale, curl your tail under, spine goes up to the ceiling, navel to spine. Inhale, keep squeezing the brick, tip your tail up, breastbone up. Keep that engagement though of navel to spine. Exhale, curl the tail under, navel to spine, strong, strong, strong. Squeeze the brick and inhale, tip your tail up, breastbone up, but keep that little engagement of navel to spine. Exhale, Draw your navel strongly towards your spine. High cat arch. Squeeze the brick. Keep squeezing the brick. Tip your tail up. Breastbone up. Keep that little engagement of navel to spine. 3 more in your own time. You can go a bit faster, but keep initiating the curve of the spine from the support of the abdomen. Using the exhalations when you're coming into convexity, and when you're concaving the spine, you're inhaling. You should feel a real abdominal workout here. Good. Last one. Great. Okay. Now we're going to take that into downward facing dog. I'll just say that if you have issues with your wrists, do the same work with the chair. You'll have the brick between the thighs. You'll start with the knees bent as we're doing, and you can follow all the same actions using the chair. Otherwise, take the brick between the thighs. Hands are under your shoulders, knees are hip distance apart. Walk your hands ahead, a handspan. And let's turn the fingers out slightly, just to give more space for the shoulders. Push the floor like you're pushing it away, and feel your breastbone lift slightly. You want to keep that. Lift the breastbone up to the ceiling. Curl the toes under. Now you're going to take your hips high, but keep your knees bent. So hips high, knees bent, then move your chest to your thighs. Move your chest to your thighs. Knees are bent. Now the 2 actions you're going to work on are breastbone up to the ceiling as you squeeze the brick and take your outer hips back. Outer hips back, breastbone up. Outer hips back, breastbone up. And between those 2 equal and opposing directions, you lengthen the spine. Breathe into the back. Firm the wrists, the elbows, the ankles, the knees, the thighs. Good, and then we'll come down, ease down, let the big toes touch, and just fold your arms and rest your brow. Maybe you need to remove your brick. Just let yourself rest with the brow resting. If you're at the chair, you can walk in towards the chair and sit on the chair for a breath or 2. Good. And then we're going to repeat that. Brick between the thighs, hands under the shoulders, walk the hands ahead of handspan, turn the fingers out. Push the floor like you're pushing it away. Lift the breastbone, curl the toes, lift the hips high with the knees bent, and move the chest to your thighs so you get that first length of the spine. Now, wrap the biceps up, lift the breastbone up to the ceiling as you squeeze the brick and begin to firm the thighs and draw your outer hips back. Breastbone up, outer hips back. Arms firming, legs firming. And breathe into that lengthened spine. Good. Last few breaths. And then we'll bend the knees, big toes touch. Let's take the knees wide now. It's more of a classic Adho Mukha Virasana, reclining hero. Bring your sit bones towards your heels, fold the arms, rest the brow, and just breathe across your back, broad and wide. Reposing. just to soften anywhere you could have built up some excess tension, letting the breath bring awareness and space there. Good. And then we'll roll all the way up. So we're going to come into some standing pose work now, a little vinyasa or flow sequence using the strap. I'm going to show, to start, I'm going to show from behind. I think it'll be easier for you to see what I'm doing. So now take your strap and see that you have a nice big loop in the strap. You're going to stand and have the tail end of the strap facing down towards the floor and right beside your right hip. So tail end facing down to the floor, the buckle and the strap and tail end is by your right hip. And then open that wide. Now you're going to step on the strap with your left foot. So it's the instep of the foot is pressing that strap down. Now you have a big circle, so you're going to step inside the circle with your right foot. So stepping on the strap with your left foot, then stepping inside the circle with your right foot. Step wide, a leg length, and keep seeing that that buckle keeps landing at your right hip. The buckle's landing at your right hip. Turn your right foot out, bend the right knee, until the knee is over the ankle, and then you're going to tighten that right strap until it starts to draw the outer right hip down and you get a bit of a micro bend in your back leg. That's good, because then when you re-straighten, push the outer edge of the left foot to the floor, straighten that leg, it's going to rebound and really draw that outer right hip down for you. Now turn and see that your trunk's facing forward, shoulders over hips, extend the arms out shoulder height. Turn the palms up, lift the breastbone up. Now here's our flow. Release your right forearm to your right thigh, extend your left arm overhead, Utthita Parsva Konasana. Then come back through Warrior Two, palms up, release the left hand, slide it down the left leg, extend your right arm up. Exalted warrior. And then we'll come back into Parsva Konasana. Forearm to thigh, extend the left arm overhead. Back through Warrior Two. Extend the top arm up. Parsva Konasana. Reach out through those top fingers. Push into that back foot. Don't lose that back foot. That's your stability. Slide the back hand down the back leg, extend the right arm up, right side trunk long. 2 more times. Parsva Konasana, exalted warrior. 1 more time. Parsva Konasana, exalted warrior. And then come back, Warrior Two, feel your shoulders square over your hips. Turn the palms down. Turn the gaze to look beyond the middle finger of the front hand. Feel yourself stable and strong here. And then straighten the front leg, toe heel in, release the strap. Good. And then we're going to come to the second side. So stand, bring your strap over now, and have the tail end facing down to the floor on your left side, by your left hip. Then open up your circle, step your right foot onto the strap. So it's coming right across the instep. You're stepping on that strap. Then you step into the loop with the left leg, and the feet are stepped a leg length's distance apart. See that the buckle is landing right at the left hip. Remember the tail end, you want it drawing down towards the floor. Turn the entire left foot out, Bend the left knee until the knee is over the ankle. You might have to adjust your stride a bit as I'm showing. And then tighten that strap. Tighten it. Feel how it's drawing the flesh of the outer left hip down to the floor. It's moving the left groins into the body. You get a bit of a micro bend on the back knee, and then you straighten. You push the outer edge of the back foot to the floor, and that gives you even more action of drawing outer left hip down. Extend the arms out to the side, then turn the palms up. Lift the breastbone up. Release the right arm to the thigh, left arm to the thigh, extend your right arm overhead. Utthita Parsva Konasana. Keep straight in that back leg. Exalted warrior. Extend your back arm down your back leg, raise the left arm up, and then come back. Parsva Konasana. Forearm to thigh, extend your top arm overhead. Exalted warrior. Feel the trunk each time you come into these iterations. So right side trunk is lengthening out through the fingertips of that raised arm. And then left side trunk is lengthening out through the fingertips of the left arm. 3 more. Parsva Konasana. Extended side angle. Keep strong on the back foot. That's your base. Your stability. Last one. Keep pressing the outer edge of the back foot to the floor. Then warrior 2, arms by your side, turn the palms down, turn the gaze to look beyond the middle finger of the front hand. And then we'll straighten the legs and ease off the strap. Good. Okay. From here, we're going to come into a forward extension. So take the brick between the thighs, take the strap, and see that it measures from your outer shoulder to your outer shoulder. Strap comes around the wrists and turn the palms to face in towards each other. So this is going to help us come forward with a long spine by lengthening the front body. So reach the fingers down to the floor. Lift your pubic bone up. Lift your breastbone up to the ceiling. Knees are bent so that the pelvis can really move with the spine here. Then come forward, keeping your breastbone lifting up to the ceiling. Directionally, that's what it's doing. So you're releasing the trunk down, but you're saying, can I keep my breastbone lifting up? Keep reaching out through the fingers and the strap. Breastbone up, moving slowly. And then you'll come to a place where you don't feel you can let the trunk go any further until you let the arms go. So then begin to explore your range of motion, mobility, drawing the arms behind you, but keep activating the arms by pressing the wrists into the strap. Move relatively slowly, so you're working with your sense of feeling yourself, noticing what sensation you're being given, and not moving ahead of that. So once you've fully let your arms go, see that the weight of the head is heavy, and you've let the neck and the head go. And then depending on the backs of the legs, if they're very tight, please keep the knees bent and just work here, quietening the brain, observing the breath in the back. But maybe you feel open in the legs that you can suck the brick up to the pubic bone, firm the thighs, and begin to straighten the legs. Then you might find the trunk can let go a little more. Breathe into the back. Good. And then to come out, bend the knees, release the arms down towards the buttocks, and then we'll slowly roll up with the knees bent, vertebra by vertebra. Coming up. Just bringing the head up slowly. Good. All right. So now I'm going to take us into, we'll either do halasana or chatushpadasana. So both will set up the same way so that I can show the first variation. You can choose to do that and stay there, absolutely fine, or you might go into the second variation. So what you'll need is your stack of blankets, and let's see, if you're taking your legs overhead, I'm gonna go this way. I'm gonna move my mat here so I can show here. So a full inversion, I'm jumping ahead a bit, but you'll need enough space at the front edge of your mat that when you sit at the front edge of your mat, your feet will come roughly to the center of a chair, okay? So I'm just showing that, setting up the chair there. But we'll all take our blankets to the front edge of the mat, and ideally you have some blankets that don't have big lumps in them. Do your best to smooth them out and stack them. So the more blankets that you have, the more support you'll have for the neck. And as you progress with this pose, you might find you want to really get a good setup so that you can stay longer. So I've got 4 blankets here. I'm stacking 3, and then 4. And then I'm going to give myself a bit of cushion for my head. So I'll take the top layer of the blanket and open it up like that. And then we'll all take our bolsters and put them horizontally at that side of the setup. And then we'll all see that we have a strap that measures from outer shoulder to outer shoulder. Now I'm just going to show the first variation, chatush. So if you have any head, neck, or shoulder injuries, if you have detached retina or glaucoma, if you have any diagnosed high or low blood pressure, if you are pregnant, you wouldn't take the full variation where we take our feet to the chair. You would say no. And if for any other reason you don't want to take your feet to the chair, you would take this variation. So you'd lie down, your shoulders are a thumb's distance from the edge of the chair. You have your strap in one hand, your feet are under your knees, and you'll lift your mid-buttock up. Then you'll take the strap around the other wrist so you can press down and lift the mid-buttock up. And you'll hold here until you start to feel any amount of shakiness, and then you'll rest in between, as we've been doing, repose, and you might go up 2 or 3 times and then fully rest. So that's the first option, chatush. If you're taking your feet overhead, tuck in the front of your shirt. You're a thumb's distance from the edge of the platform, just as in the previous pose. Then the strap is around your elbow. Then tent the fingers at the bolster so that you can launch. You can see I'm pushing and I'm lifting my pelvis up. So do that a few times just to feel that you can lift the pelvis up. Then you'll tent your fingers, lift the pelvis up, bring your feet to the chair, curl the toes under. Then the strap comes around the opposite wrists and you push down onto the bolster with your outer wrists so that you can lift the spine up. Firm the thighs, lift the outer hips up, and you're in halasana or plow pose. Working to lift the spine, lift the outer hips. If you wanted to come into a more restorative variation, you could pull the chairs towards you and get your thighs right on that chair. But do keep pushing down from wrist to elbow so that you can move the spine in, lift the outer hips up. In this pose, you want to soften the throat, the eyes, the jaw. There will be a natural squeezing action that happens when the chest rolls towards the throat. But your job is to stay relaxed while you maintain the structure of the pose. Not turning your head from side to side, just staying in alignment. And you can stay here for a minute or two. If you get any sense of panic or lots of blood flowing to the face, you know it's time to come out. You release the strap and you ease yourself down, trusting the bolster is there to support you. So if you're already coming out now, next stage is to move yourself back, shift yourself back until your head, neck, and shoulders are on the floor, even surface. Then let the arms go, let the legs go, and repose. So you can just feel the benefits of this pose. Feel free to stay in Halasana if you've efforted to get up there and you feel good in that inversion for another minute, let's say, then do stay. And just remembering when you're coming down from either of the poses, take the strap off one wrist first so you're not caught there. You can support your back and trust that you've set yourself up well, you've got the bolster there, you can ease yourself down to that soft support. And then once you come down, shift yourself back until your head, neck, and shoulders are on the floor. Then let go. Let go the arms, let go the pelvis, the spine, the hips, the legs, let go. Repose. And then from here, we will prepare for Shavasana. You can use this platform that you have for your thighs. Keep yourself nice and quiet. Those inversions, those fuller inversions, are very quietening, cooling for the nervous system. So you want to stay with that sense. You take one of your blankets for your head, and then just see that the very tops of the backs of the thighs are supported on your platform that you've created. Release your arms by your side. Make any adjustments you need to make to open the chest. Maybe spread the buttocks flesh broad so that the sacrum is fully released. Nothing's catching it there. And then let go and let loose the weight of the head, the skin of the face. Let go the heavy bone body, the shoulder blades, arms, wrists, fingers, left side, right side. Letting go the full length of the spine. And letting go the left side of the pelvis, all around the hips on the left side, the right side of the pelvis, all around the hips on the right side. And breathe into the pelvis as one unit, and on the exhale, let it go. And as the pelvis and hips let go, they let go the heavy bones of the thighs, so that the muscles surrounding those bones can deflate like balloons. The backs of the knees spread, deflate the muscles of the calves so the shins can let go. Ankles, feet, tips of the toes. And in Shavasana, continuing to observe the release of the physical body, the Annamaya Kosha, the physical layer, breath to breath, staying in awareness, observing any amount of release. And observing too the Pranamaya Kosha, the energy body that naturally surfaces as we're able to let go the physical layer. We penetrate and arrive more clearly at that energy body, the body of awareness.